So here what I have, BAM, is a barometer girl. It's a die cut for a souvenir postcard from Jamestown. I believe it's actually from Jamestown, Virginia. And that's what's going to make this story of collecting this item all the more interesting. You can see the big, wide open eyes, stereotypical, the big, very red lips, and the chicken. Here is actually how you use what's called the color barometer because her dress actually changes color. And here is the front of the souvenir card. So now that you've seen the die cut girl, I'll read the text that goes along with her image. A greeting from Jamestown. I's coming with the crowd, you bet. And though I ain't no Indian yet, I wants to see the show. Pocahontas weren't no kin to me, as I look in yo can plainly see. I's just a little coon. I's brought along some clothes o' mine, the blue dress for the days what shine, the pink for those what rain. But when I gets on lavender, they all say, "Child, now what's this for?" I says, "The weather change." So though I ain't no water past sight, and look just like a slice of night, I's does good in my way. And if you're anxious for to see what kind o' day it's going to be, just keep your eye glued on me. Then, honey child, I declare you'll see. And so, with that, you'll see that there was a lot of references to Indian and Native American peoples, what I actually should have said. So let's dig into that a little bit. But just before I do, let me be your interpreter. I'm coming with the crowd, you bet, and though I ain't no Indian yet, I want to see the show. Pocahontas weren't akin to me, as you're looking, you can plainly see I'm just a little coon. I've brought along some clothes of mine, the blue dress for the days that shine, pink for those that rain, but when I get on lavender, they'll all say, "Child, now what is this for?" I say the weather's changed. So though I am not a wapath sight and looks just like a slice of night, I do good in my way. And if you're anxious to see what kind of day it's going to be, just keep your eye glued on me. Then, honey child, I declare you'll see. So, most recent historians have shared that there was this intermingling between Native Americans and enslaved Africans who became African Americans, of course. And so here you can see a photo that was captured by Sam Devaney, and there's a researcher named Angela Walton Raji who can tell you more about African Native genealogy over the past 20 years. And so through her story, what you learn is that intermingling was well documented, and we hear all about that. Even my family, they swear up and down I'm Cherokee, those sorts of things. But also, what they should be discussing is that Native Americans also purchased uh, African Americans for slavery. The Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Creek and Seminole nations also enslaved African Americans, and they intermingled through that experience. And you can take that where you will with the term intermingling, but when the slaves, these African American slaves, were freed, they were given nationhood, which was an incredibly big deal. And for those who participated in nationhood, they also were given some land. And as you know, a lot of African Americans took on the last name after they were freed for what they did. So blacksmith changed to Smith, but freedmen, indicated free man. So there's actually this territory right outside of the Virginia area, and I'm assuming also within the Virginia area, where these Native Americans lived and cohabitated with these African Americans. So what I want to know is what is all this drama with this whole Pocahontas comment that is actually mentioned in the poem, right? Pocahontas weren't no kin to me. And so as I started to dig a little bit deeper, what I learned is this story of like enslavement and etc., but also the real true story of Pocahontas, which might interest you in learning a little bit more. To learn a little bit more about who actually was John Smith, what was Pocahontas' actual name that she went by in private or otherwise. I used the Smithsonian to learn a bit more about that. But a bit back on topic here. I just found it really interesting to that this card really separated the difference between natives and maybe what they stood for and then African Americans. What you can see here is actually the comment that I mentioned earlier about freedmen. There was a location just outside of Virginia, or I guess in Oklahoma specifically, that really talked about this conversation around freedmen and how they had been in slavery from this Indian territory and was freed. And so on the map, there's actually this area that reflected that there was no slavery in this quote unquote South. There was also a reference that I couldn't pronounce very well, but I found this to be the tribe that they were actually talking about, the Powhatan tribe, and that's what I believe was being referenced when I was reading that poem. And I will pull that poem back up at the end, and you can just pause it and take a look at it. But I hope you really enjoyed learning about this postcard and just the journey to know more. Thank you.